Welcome to episode number 298, where I'm discussing the sweat channel, Sveda Vaha Srotas. Ayurveda helps us understand that sweating is connected to our emotions. If there's suppressed anger, it can result in hot sweat with burning sensations due to excess pitta in Sveda Vaha Srotas. And if there's a lot of fear and anxiety, this can aggravate vata, which results in constriction due to excess vata in the channel, leading to a lack of sweat. To learn more, please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda. Did you know that Kerala Ayurveda Academy offers training in Europe? The Ayurvedic Health Counselor Certification Program is available for international students to take in an online or hybrid format. European students can begin their Ayurvedic transformation this fall. And now is the best time to join for $250 off tuition with early bird savings through August 31st. For an additional $100 off, use the code ELEMENTS100 when you join, and you'll find that info and link in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. It's Colette today for a solo episode, and I'm nearing the end of my series on the Shrotas of the body. And in this episode, I'm focusing on the third and final elimination channel, which is Sveda Vaha Srotas, the channel for carrying sweat. Just as a reminder, the other two elimination channels, which I've covered previously, were the bowel channel, Purisha Vaha Srotas, and the urine channel, Mutra Vaha Srotas. Now, if you're new to this information on the Shrotas or channels of the body, please check out the first episode in this series, which was episode number 272, titled The Food Channel and the Shrotas, which will give you a great introduction to the Ayurvedic wisdom on the channels of the body. So today, as I said, we're focusing on the sweat channel, Sveda Vaha Srotas, and the root or mula of Sveda Vaha Srotas are the sweat glands and Meda Dhatu, the fat tissue, as sweat is the byproduct or waste of Meda Dhatu, and it helps to remove impurities from the plasma. The passage or marga are the sweat ducts, and the mukha or opening are the pores of the skin and the opening of the sweat glands under the skin. The subdoshas governing this channel are prana, udana, samana, and vayana vayu, pachaka, ranjaka, and brajaka pitta, and kaladika, bodhika, tarpika, and shleshika kapha. The functions of the sweat channel are elimination of liquid waste, perspiration, lubrication, as the sweat is an oily liquid substance. The sweat channel also helps to maintain moisture under the skin, maintain body temperature, strengthen the hair roots, and protection of the body as well. Sweat also indirectly regulates the water electrolyte balance and blood pressure, as excessive sweating lowers blood pressure, and if there's a lack of sweat or no sweat, this can increase blood pressure. Now, body temperature is regulated by brajaka pitta, and if we get too cold, the sweat glands will constrict in order to preserve the heat, and if we get too hot, sweat will form to cool the body down, and this is why it's so important to stay well hydrated so that the body can regulate the body temperature with sweat, and of course, you will need to replace the lost fluids. The skin is breathing prana, and it reflects our emotions. Underneath the skin is a layer of connective tissue, and this is where undigested emotions can accumulate. Sweating is connected to our emotions, and if there's suppressed anger, it can result in hot sweat and a burning sensation on the skin due to excess pitta in the Sveda Vaha Srotas, in the sweat channels. If there's a lot of fear and anxiety, this can aggravate Vata, which results in constriction due to excess Vata in Sveda Vaha Srotas, which leads to a lack of sweat. There is also a connection between sweat and urine. When we sweat more in the hot season, we urinate less. And in the cooler months, when we sweat less, we urinate more. Now, the sweat content is different depending on the dominant dosha in our constitution or if we have a current imbalance. For example, the Pitta dosha produces more heat in the body and therefore will sweat more and require more water intake, whereas the Kapha dosha sweats the least and requires less liquids. I'm going to jump in here to tell you some very exciting news. I'm finally hosting a Ayurveda rejuvenation retreat in Bali with Dr. Sujata from Amrita Siddhi Ayurvedic Clinic. That's where I worked from 2014 to 2015. And finally, after all these years of talking about it, we're going to do a retreat together. The dates are December 4th to 10th, 2023. It's an all-inclusive retreat. You'll get consultations, Ayurvedic medicines, treatments, Ayurvedic food, and you'll be in this beautiful healing cocoon of Amrita Siddhi Ayurvedic Clinic. You can check out the video and all the details on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. Just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website and click on the events tab. And I hope to see you in Bali in December. So let's cover some signs and symptoms of aggravation of Sveda Vaha Srotas. So the first sign or symptom of aggravation is a lack of sweat. And therefore the skin will be dry, rough, and cracking due to that lack of lubrication from the oiliness of the sweat. There may be a loss of body hair, as remember before I mentioned that sweat helps to strengthen the hair roots. Too much sweat leaves the skin moist and oily or feeling slimy. Foul-smelling sweat is a sign or symptom of aggravation of the Sveda Vaha Srotas. Also, burning sensations and inflammatory conditions on the skin, acne, dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, fungal infections, goosebumps, and fainting due to excessive sweating and decreased blood pressure. Now, some of the possible causes of aggravation of Sveda Vaha Srotas are too much or too little hydration, excess pitta aggravating foods like spicy and oily foods and alcohol and caffeine, excess sugar, salt and fatty foods, strenuous exercise. Too little exercise also is a problem, so you're not sweating on a regular basis, and this is an issue too. Too much exposure to heat, like being outdoors during intense heat or too much time in the sauna. And going from heat to cold conditions. So for example, overheating in a workout and then doing a cold plunge. Now this is quite popular today, but Ayurveda teaches us that this is just too shocking for the body, going from that hot to cold environment. Also, emotional stress. Excess anger can aggravate the Pitta dosha, resulting in more sweating, and grief and fear can aggravate the Vata dosha, resulting in less sweat. Now, for treatment of aggravations of Sveda Vaha Srotas, well, it's managed similar to the line of treatment for fever or jwara in Ayurveda. And as always, the treatment is tailored to each rogi's individual needs and symptoms and so on. However, there is something that is recommended for everyone to do on a daily basis in order to improve the quality of the Sveda Vaha Srotas, and that is Abhyanga, which is an oil massage. This really helps to maintain the sweat channels. So the skin is the main side of the subdosha Bronjika Pitta, which I mentioned earlier. And when we apply oil to the skin, it's the Agni, or the digestive fire in Bronjika Pitta, which absorbs and assimilates the oil, nourishing the dhatus or tissues. The connective tissue is also nourished, and as a result, it releases and pacifies undigested emotions trapped in that connective tissue. This is why a great emphasis is put on the daily practice of Abhyanga in Ayurveda, in the Dinacharya, the daily self-care practices. Now, it's important the oil you use. So you want to choose organic cold-pressed oil. So the oil should be unrefined. And the type of oil you choose depends on the qualities your body needs. So, for example, if you tend to run cool or you're in the cool season, you may want to use a warm oil like sesame oil, which is good for the Vata dosha. If you tend to run hot and you're in hot summer season, coconut oil is cooling and can be ideal for the Pitta dosha. And for cough, it's best to use a lighter oil like a sunflower oil. Now, how you want to apply the oil is from the neck down. I don't like to put the oil on the face. If you're washing your hair, you can put the oil on the scalp as well. And then start putting the oil at the limbs and working towards the center of the body, circling on the joints. Now allow the oil to sit on the body for about 15 to 20 minutes and then taking a shower or bath. And if you have the oil on the scalp, apply the shampoo before the water, so that will trap the oil easier and make it easier to get the oil out of the hair. The warm shower or bath will then help to drive the oil deeper into the tissues so you can reap all the benefits. This is a self-care practice that's really worth taking the time to do daily. And it doesn't need to take a long time. It will just take a few minutes, less than 5 minutes when you get used to it. But it really does help to maintain the condition of the skin and the Sveda Vaha Srotas, as well as so many other benefits like pacifying the body and calming the nervous system and so on. So that's something that you can bring into practice if you're not doing it already. And again, it has so many benefits for our body, skin, and in particular, Sveda Vaha Srotas. Okay, so that's it on Sveda Vaha Srotas. I hope you found that interesting. And, it's so interesting with the Srotas to learn about how we can recognize imbalances and going a little deeper now and looking not just at the doshas, but looking at the Srotas and what channels are affected in your body as well. So this is all amazing wisdom from Ayurveda. And if you need support on your Ayurvedic healing journey and you would like some guidance tailored to you and your lifestyle, please check out my online services. I offer online consultations where I will put a strategy together for your diet, lifestyle, self-care, mindfulness, exercise, and so on to help you maintain balance and prevent illness. And of course, I will address any current imbalances. But those consultations are really tailored to you. And at the end of that consultation, you come away with an understanding, education, and a strategy for going forward. I also have the Digestive Reset Cleanse to help in eliminating the ama or toxins from the body and resetting the agni or the digestive fire. The next discounted group cleanse will be October 6th. Or if you want to do a private cleanse at any point, that's where you get to choose your own dates. And that's available at any time. And I also have an educational program, the Daily Habits for Holistic Health program. It's a 28-day online self-paced program with the objective to help you live in tune with the circadian rhythm, and it educates you on how to become your own healer. So we dive a little deeper into the information, really empowering you to take charge of your own health and understanding how to recognize the qualities in food and use the principle of opposites. So there are my services available online. And if you have any questions before you book, feel free to use the free 15-minute online Services Enquiry Call. We'll hop on Zoom and I'll answer all your questions. You can find all the information on my services via the link in the show notes, or just go to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and you'll find all the information there, and the information on my upcoming 7-day Ayurvedic Rejuvenation Retreat in Bali in December is there under the events tab. It would be wonderful if you could join us. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so. And the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. It will help spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. You can find me on Facebook under Elements Healing and Wellbeing, and on Instagram under Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Be well and bye for now. Slán go fóill.